Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. As-salatu was-salamu ala Sayyidina Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum, my dearest brothers and sisters, and welcome to this episode of Pillars of Islam with me, Dr. Mahwash Akram Qureshi. I start with the name of Allah. I praise Allah and thank Him for the blessings of Islam. I ask Allah to raise the rank of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So, in these lessons, I've been going through the personal obligatory knowledge of the religion. And up till now, I've spoken about the meaning of the first testification of faith. Now, insha'Allah, in this lesson, I'm going to talk about the second testification of faith. Now, the second testification of faith is Ashhadu anna Muhammadar Rasulullah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadar Rasulullah, which means I testify that Muhammad is the messenger of Allah. Now, the meaning Muhammad is the messenger of Allah is that Muhammad, the son of Abdullah, the son of Abdul Muttalib al-Hashimi, is the messenger of Allah. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was Al-Qurayshi, which means the one who belonged to the Quraysh tribe amongst the Arabs. And he was sent to the Arabs and the non-Arabs. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is from the clan of Hashim. This means that his lineage goes back to Hashim, the son of Abdu Manaf. Now, the clan of Hashim is a branch of the tribe of Quraysh, which was the most prestigious and honorable tribe of the Arabs. Now, the tribe of Quraysh goes back in lineage to Prophet Ismail alayhi salam, the son of Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam is the slave of Allah and His messenger to all humans and jinn. He was not sent only to the Arabs or only to the non-Arabs or only to the humans. Rather, Allah sent him as a messenger to all the humans and jinn. Now, one must believe that he was born in Mecca and sent as a messenger there. He immigrated to Al-Madinah and was buried there. And he was truthful in everything he told about and conveyed from Allah. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was born in Mecca in the year of the elephant, the year when Abraha led an army and some elephants in an unsuccessful attempt to destroy the Kaaba. Allah destroyed Abraha and his army, as is described in the Quran in Suratul Fil. The Prophet ﷺ first received the revelation in Mecca when he was 40 years old. He stayed in Mecca for 13 years after receiving the revelation, then immigrated to Al-Madinah, and he lived there for 10 years. He died and was buried in Al-Madinah in Lady Aisha's chamber in the 11th year after the Hijrah. So he was 63 years old when he passed away. Now, knowing the lineage of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam up to Adnan is a communal obligation, and the lineage is Muhammad, the son of Abdullah, the son of Abdul Muttalib, the son of Hashim, the son of Abdu Manaf, the son of Qusay, the son of Kilab, the son of Murrah, the son of Ka'ab, the son of Lu'ay, the son of Ghalib, the son of Fihr, the son of Malik, the son of An-Nadr, the son of Kinana, the son of Khuzaymah, the son of Mudrika, the son of Ilyas, the son of Mudar, the son of Nizar, the son of Ma'ad, who was the son of Adnan. So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, He was truthful in everything he told about and conveyed from Allah. Amongst what the Prophet ﷺ informed us about are the following: the punishment in the grave for some people and the enjoyment for some, the questioning by the two angels, Munkar and Nakir, of the dead person after they are buried. Now, after the person is buried, his soul, which separated from his body at death, returns to his body. Two angels come to him. One angel is called Munkar and the other one is called Nakir. They will ask the dead person about his Lord, his Prophet, and his religion. They will have a frightening appearance. The kafir, the blasphemer, will be extremely frightened of them and will be unable to answer the questions and will be humiliated. However, the God-fearing believer does not fear them and will be able to answer the questions and be honored. Now, the people in the graves are of two types. One type experience enjoyments in the grave. Their graves are widened and illuminated. These are the obedient and forgiven Muslims. Now, the other type will be tortured in the grave. And this category, those whom will be tortured, are also divided into two categories. One are the kafirs, the blasphemers, who will face the torture of the grave continually until their bodies decay. And after their bodies decay, their souls will be taken to a place in the seventh earth called Sijjin, where they will be tortured until the Day of Judgment. Now, the other category of people who will be tortured in the grave are the sinful Muslims, whom Allah did not forgive. They will be tortured in their graves for a certain period. However, the torture will not continue for them until the Day of Judgment. Once their bodies decay, their souls are suspended between the earth and the sky, and they face their remaining torture, which they deserve in the hereafter, except those whom Allah forgives. Now, believing in the torture of the grave and the enjoyments of the grave is an obligation. The one who denies the torture of the grave is a kafir. Ibn Hibban narrated in his Sahih that the Prophet ﷺ said about the pious Muslim, "Ad-dunya sijnul mu'min wa sanatuh, fa-idha faraqa ad-dunya faraqa as-sijna was-sana," which means, for the pious Muslim, this life is a prison and like a place of starvation. And when he leaves this life, he would be leaving the prison and the starvation. Now, this hadith is a proof that after a person dies as a pious Muslim, then they do not face any sadness or punishment after this point. Amongst what the Prophet ﷺ informed us of are the angels. Now, it's obligatory to believe in angels, to believe that they exist. They are accountable beings that have souls. They are made out of light. They do not eat, nor drink, nor sleep. And they are neither males nor females. They do not disobey Allah in whatever He orders them. Rather, they do whatever they are ordered. Amongst what the Prophet ﷺ informed us about is the Day of Judgment. He ﷺ was truthful in everything that he informed us about the past, the present, and the future. He informed us in the future there will be a Day of Judgment. Now, in Arabic, the Day of Judgment is called Yawm al-Qiyamah, or Qiyamah for short. And Qiyamah means getting up. And it was said that this is in reference to the people getting up and coming out of their graves. In some contexts, the word qiyamah can also be used to refer to the first blowing of the horn by the angel Israfil and the subsequent destruction of everything on the earth. Now, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he informed us that a time would come when the last believer on earth will die. And then 100 years after this point, Angel Israfil will blow into a special horn, causing all the remaining humans and jinn to die. So, at one point in time, there will only be kafirs on the earth, and Qiyamah will come upon them. After Angel Israfil blows the horn, even the angels die, including Angel Israfil himself. Then 40 years later, Allah will bring Angel Israfil back to life and order him to blow a second time into the special horn. This blowing of the horn will mark the start of Yawm al-Qiyamah, the Day of Judgment, when all the dead angels, humans, and jinn are brought back to life. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he mentioned that the Day of Judgment is 50,000 years long. That's equal to 50,000 years of this life. Now, Muslim and others narrated that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, whilst talking about the Day of Judgment, he said, يحكم الله بين عباده في يوم كان مقداره 50,000 سنة, which means Allah will judge His slaves in a day of 50,000 years in length. Now, the Day of Judgment, it extends from the resurrection of the dead until they enter paradise or hellfire. Now, for the pious believer, this time only feels as long as the time it takes to perform one of the obligatory prayers in this life, such as the Asr prayer. In other words, for the pious believer, it is similar to the time the sun takes to set from when it's very close to the horizon. So these people will feel it so short because they will be enjoying this day. These pious people push themselves to pray during the long nights and to fast during the long days and to stay away from the haram money, the haram food, and the haram pleasures. They endeavored greatly to protect their eyes, their ears, their tongue, their hands, their feet, their stomach, and private parts from the sins. Allah will reward them greatly on the Day of Judgment. Now, the time of actual judgment is only a part of Yawm al-Qiyamah. The entire time during this very long day is not for judgment. Amongst what the Prophet ﷺ informed us about is the resurrection, which in Arabic is called Ba'ath. Now, linguistically, Ba'ath means to come back to life, and in the religious context, it refers to the dead people being brought back to life and coming out from their graves. Now, death is a certain reality that awaits all of us. It's a reality that even the non-Muslims do not deny, although many people do not like to think about it. The Prophet ﷺ, he encouraged us to think about death. For example, by visiting the graveyards. The one who does not think about death might not prepare for it, and the one who does not prepare for it would be a loser on the Day of Judgment. So, as has been mentioned, at one point in time, Allah will order Angel Israfil to blow into a special horn, and at that moment, all those who have not already died will die. So, all the human beings, jinn, including Iblis the devil, will die at that point. The angels will also die. Even Azrael, the angel of death, will die at this point. Now, some scholars said that a group of angels will not die, like the angels who will torture the non-Muslims in hellfire and the angels who carry the arsh, which is the ceiling of paradise. 40 years later after this point, Allah will bring Angel Israfil back to life. Israfil will blow a second time into the horn. And when Israfil blows this second time, Allah will then make the dead come out of their graves. So, the bodies that have already decayed or were burnt in a fire will be recreated by Allah, and their souls will re-enter those bodies. The dead will come out from their graves resurrected. Also, the angels that died will be brought back to life by Allah. Each person will have with him two angels, one in front of him and one behind him, as a sign that there is no escape. Angels will take each person to a darkness near the Sirat, a special bridge. The earth will then be changed, and the people will then be brought back to and gathered on the changed earth. Amongst the basics of the Islamic creed is to believe in the gathering. And the Prophet ﷺ informed us about this. In Arabic, this is called the Hashr. And the changed earth is called Al-Ardul Mubaddalah. Now, some scholars said that from the dust of this earth, Allah will create a changed earth. But the saying that some scholars give weight to is that Allah will change this earth itself. So the earth will be changed such that it will be flat. It will be flat without mountains or valleys, similar to a piece of tanned, stretched leather. This changed earth will be vaster than this earth of ours, and it will have a color similar to the color of silver. Now, the gathering will vary for different people according to the deeds that they did. So, the pious Muslim will be gathered and will be given food to eat. They will also be wearing clothes, and they will have animals to ride upon. Another group of people will be gathered whilst naked and barefoot, and these would be the Muslims who were the major sinners. There will be even some people that are gathered whilst they are upside down and being dragged on their faces. Subhanallah. At-Tirmidhi narrated in his Sunan that the Prophet ﷺ said that on the day of judgment, the sun will be close above the people. This will cause the people to sweat, such that some of them, their sweat will reach their ankles. For some of them, their sweat will reach their knees. And for some of them, the sweat will reach their mouths. All of this will be as per the bad deeds that a person did in this life. Despite what I've mentioned, the sweat of one person will not mix with the sweat of another person. Subhanallah. So, on this day, when some people are suffering due to the intense heat of the sun, some people will be granted the shade of the arsh. it is mentioned in a hadith narrated by Al-Bukhari and others that on the day of judgment, there are 7 types of people which will be gathered under the shade of the Arsh, as the Prophet ﷺ mentioned. The hadith that mentions there are 7 types of people whom Allah will shade with His shade. In other words, the shade of the Arsh. Okay? When we say His shade, we mean the shade of the Arsh. On a day on which there is no shade except for the shade of the Arsh. The 7 groups of people are: number 1, a just ruler. Number 2, a young person that has been brought up in the worship of Allah. Number 3, a man whose heart is attached to the mosques. Number 4, 2 people who love each other only for the sake of Allah. The 2 of them gather for the sake of Allah and separate for the sake of Allah. Number 5, the man who refuses the call of a charming, beautiful woman for zina and says, I fear Allah. Number 6, a man who gives charitable gifts so secretly that his left hand does not know what his right hand has given. And number 7, a person who remembers Allah in seclusion and whose eyes are then flooded with his tears. Now, if one reflects, how many unjust rulers are there nowadays? How many youth are being brought up in disobedience of Allah? How many hearts are attached to the dunya and not to the places of worship? How many people hate those who love Allah? How many men are trying to commit zina rather than resisting it? How many people are giving in charity for the sake of showing off and not seeking the reward from Allah? How many people are laughing whilst disobeying Allah rather than crying due to the remembrance of Him? Allah, who gave us eyes with which we see, ears with which we hear, a tongue with which we speak, and a heart with which we believe. Allah, the one who guided us to Islam, and made us know the correct belief about Him and the Prophets. How would we then be ungrateful to Allah, our Creator, and not benefit from our time by learning the religious knowledge and by teaching it to others? Now, note that in some narrations of the hadith about the shadow of the Arsh, it is mentioned that 7 people will be in its shade, fi dhullihi. Now, some people translate this as God's shadow or His shadow. However, it doesn't mean that God has a personal shadow. Rather, it is translated as His shade. Then this means the shadow of the Arsh which Allah created. In other words, this is the shadow that Allah created, and so He owns it. And this usage of the phrase His shade specifically expresses that Allah owns this shadow and that it is honorable. For example, all the mosques are called Buyutullah, which literally means houses of God. And God also specified the Kaaba as Bayti, my house. However, this does not mean that God actually lives inside a mosque or the Kaaba. Okay, this is a figure of speech that is well known in the Arabic language. Okay, now I will finish the class here today, and inshallah I hope you can join me in the subsequent episodes where we will continue talking about the personal obligatory knowledge of the religion. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.